Hi everyone, we're back. This is the second program of a very new show based on the Artis magazine, and we are the Artis with Ivy Reiss. This is my second guest today, award-winning author and visual artist Meena Chopra. And today we'll be talking about mainly many things, her upcoming book, but also the pros and cons of publishing and the arts in the digital era. Meena's background is quite extraordinary. Her recent accolades include being the first place winner for the Visual Arts Mississauga Award for this piece right here, She, when they were celebrating 150 years in 2017 with Canada. Her art and poetry have been reviewed in Canada, USA, and India by some of the best-known critics at the Toronto Star, Mississauga News, Hinduism Times, Times of India, and many more. She is a qualified educator of the Royal Conservatory of Music in Ontario and a designer. And her background in marketing and media makes her the perfect guest to talk about how the industry has changed and how we can help publishing grow in this challenging time. Everyone, Meena Chopra, hi.
Thank you very much for calling me here, Ivy, and this is your first show, and all the best to you.
Thank you.
For that.
I understand you have a new book coming out and a launch.
Very soon,
Yes.
in September.
Okay, did you?
And also, along with the exhibition on the same theme.
Okay, so we'll come back to that, and we'll come back to that at the end. But first, why don't we just dive right in? And the way we consume art as a medium has changed so much over the last decade. The publishing era, the digital era has caused so many challenges for the publishing industry in the same way as it has for the music industry. And the music industry has started to overcome that recently, and I think you've been so involved on the scene for over 20, 30 years that it would be interesting to talk about how do you think that the impact is changing on the audience when we're looking at art versus the screen and on the page?
Well, there is a lot of art available on digital scene now.
And the medium is changing.
Yeah, and many people are exposed to it, many more people. Because earlier you had to visit a gallery to see the art physically. That's an experience. I mean, it's definitely an experience when you see it and touch it, or it's right in front of you. But to be consumed by so many people when it's on the internet is amazing. So a lot more people are exposed, and that is an advantage, a huge advantage.
But absolutely. But then, one of our earlier conversations, you said to me about how you felt that the distance that is created when someone is looking at something through the screen, I think you made a parallel to Facebook. That distance, how do you think that affects?
That, of course, this is a changing world, and it has been a changing world always since the humankind, since the inception of humankind. So the thing is that now that medium comes in between. It's different to touch a piece, see a piece directly with your eyes and just imbibe it and get the feeling out of it. And there is a difference when you see it on the, on internet, on a screen. So there is a distance created.
Which affects the experience, kind of like the same way as meeting someone on Facebook. And one would have this idea of the person, but when you meet them in person, the vibe is different.
Yeah, it could be better, it could be a little less better.
Or just different.
Or just different. You just don't know when you actually see the piece. But I suppose this is the way world is progressing, so You have to adjust to it.
Yeah, you've embraced it very well. I have to admit that I'm still working on it. And you were saying to me that you've noticed a lot of people even are reading e-readers. I mean, people are still reading,
Yeah.
but e-readers are becoming more common. And then I know that you were saying that you haven't really read a full novel in the last many years, 10
Yes,
years
yes.
or so.
Yeah.
But yet you are consuming artistic material all the time. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Of course. See, reading is there. See why there are reasons for reading.
Yes.
You need information. You need knowledge. It gives you emotional and intellectual stimulation. Okay. Now this thing, it can be done while you're watching something. While a visual media also fulfills that to quite some extent. So, for example, if you're watching TV or you're watching a serial or anything, and then now digital era has made it so convenient that it's right in your hand. I mean, whenever you want to watch a TV serial, you can watch it. It has made it easier
Absolutely.
for you.
Yeah, like you were saying with e-readers, one doesn't lose the page.
Yeah.
If you need to
Yeah.
look up the definition for
Yeah.
word, it's there.
Yeah.
I know ebook sales did cap off in 2015. However, I think that they've started to rise again. And so it's interesting. The convenience aspect is definitely there.
Next generation is with e-readers.
Yeah.
And I mean, the very fact that you can have 10,000, 20,000 books all the time with you and your favorite collection and your pages marked, that's a huge advantage. But then you are definitely losing the touch of the book, the smell of the book, the direct contact. But then, Ivy, this is how life is growing. I mean, from man when he lived in caves and he wrote on maybe stones
Yeah.
and then leaves, and those were shunned, and then another era came of paper when handwriting was there, and then block printing was
Well,
there, and
Well, it's interesting that you
is-
mentioned the smells and the tangible experience with books, because studies, you're right, it does go back to the beginning of time, and we are tangible, we enjoy tangible things as creatures, and studies have shown that sometimes, writing notes by hand, for example, that physical experience, and McLuhan actually spoke about it as well, but that physical experience leaves something with you, helps us absorb information more. And when you're talking about, the various information that's out there, that's very good, but it's coming at us from all angles. And then I know you and I have spoken, it leads into the whole multitasking that has kind of become the core of the modern world, when you're, listening to a podcast on one end, reading Facebook posts on another, and then, and yet you're never really touching anything, except maybe the keyboard.
Yeah, there is a medium. There is a medium in between. There is a medium between you and me also all the time, and we can call it Twitter, Facebook, or whatever. You are meeting most of your friends there, but definitely it is different than having a cup of coffee with your friend, which really makes it intimate and one-on-one.
And in a way, though, that the convenience aspect, though, does bridge art. And your background in marketing is quite interesting, because you are the publisher of Starbuzz, which is very popular entertainment news weekly, and your background in marketing has allowed you to become a digital media artist that won numerous awards. I think we should show the audience some of your pieces and talk about how, I know as the publishing industry has changed, from my own experience, in the last decade, as even as authors, as any artist, one has to become their own marketer. You need to know how to market yourself in order to succeed, because, as Meena says, there's so much information out there. So that's where I think your views are really interesting. I think one time you said to me that one needs to have that background in marketing in order to be able to make multimedia art.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. But Ivy, with art, there are two things. Whether it's, I mean, how do you define art? Whether it's a way of life or is it a product? Now, for me, it is a way of life. And if it is way of life, then it cannot be a product as such. Way of life would mean that it has got a transcendental aspect to it,
Yes.
which is not just branding and marketing, which means that the change of attitude of a society. I mean, a society is evolving. If a society evolves, definitely appreciates arts. And if a society is not appreciating art, to me it means that it's not really evolving.
Well, that's an interesting point, because I think good art can only be created. Now, of course, with aesthetics, good art is been a contentious topic since Kant, since really the beginning of time, even with Aristotle's Poetics. What constitutes good art? Schiller, Kant, all the major philosophers talked about that. It's a matter of taste, really. But if we can pretend to say we know what good art is, or art, I would say anything we enjoy, I think one needs to have an artistic lifestyle. But it's interesting, you said that with all of the media coming our way, would that not dilute from the fact that people are no longer living an artistic art life if they're so distracted with the electronic things that are coming their way? How are they going to live how are they going to live that art style that would produce more art and evolve?
Not necessarily, because one thing is there that people are exposed to it, and somewhere, and more people are exposed to it, because, as I said, you needn't go to an art gallery to see art. It's right there on the internet, and
if they like it, they can follow it and find it.
Yeah. So that, I mean, that touch, at least visual impact is there, and if the art is good, then definitely it's going to touch the mind somewhere.
Well,
so
go on, sorry.
Yeah, so I mean, it's there is more exposure.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily, if the digital era is coming, it could also be beneficial for art evolution of a whole society because of the exposure.
That's true, because, in a way, I think I have noticed that art galleries are making a comeback. And last year, I was at an event for a place called Partial, and they rent out art, Partial Gallery, and you can actually rent real pieces of art for your walls for a really affordable cost. And one of the mandate that they had going, and this has really taken off in the GTA, is that people are becoming more aware that a piece of really art that's been actually created by a person hanging on the wall affects the space differently than, say, a $15 print you bought at Walmart. And people are coming out, they're going to galleries, and events is definitely where I've had panel discussions where it seems like events are where things are going. And you do events. You have an upcoming event. And you've had a lot of, I was your last exhibit, The Eyes. Tell us a little bit about that exhibit.
Okay, that's digital art, so that just
but
goes
it was
with
beautiful. And you had the prints.
Yeah, I had the prints, and it's like a lot of Photoshop and some other medium was used, combining various things, and it called Eyes of Time.
Yes.
So, yeah, that was interesting. And I have been doing digital art since 2002. And it's only in 2016 I showed one piece in Mississauga, Museums of Mississauga, that is Bradley Museum. It was a curated exhibition by the museum, which was, the piece was picked up by them. And this was my first solo where I showed my digital art.
And it was very well received, though.
It was very well received, and I sold few pieces also. Yeah, so it's a different experience, but again, it's progression. You can't compare it with the
with painting.
painting. That is entirely a different experience when you hold a brush in your hand, a physical brush and physical colors, and then you are doing it. Here,
And the sheet that won the VAM Awards, this was a pastel, right?
No, there are two versions of this. This was in acrylic.
Okay.
The one in acrylic, which is a big piece in 30 by 40 size.
Yes.
That is the one that won award.
And a lot of your work is inspired by the female form and the aesthetic and the concept of that. And I think your upcoming poetry collection is very much, it's both visuals and poetry, which I think hits two very strong chords with a lot of people. Let's talk about that.
Okay,
She, the Restless
yes.
Streak.
She, the Restless Streak. Actually, it's the female energy, prevailing female energy in entire universe,
Yes.
which has been forefront of my art, me not realizing it always, right from the beginning, and which is the core of my work actually, because see, Ivy, the art comes out from your subconscious. And when you're doing, mostly a person like me, I don't have a concept in mind right in the beginning.
You don't have a
A
concept.
concept actually in my conscious mind.
It just comes out.
It comes out, and then I start realizing, working on it, and then there is a dialogue which goes on with me and my art. So that's where I have started realizing, oh my God, it's a whole journey. It's telling me something about something unknown where I'm going, you know. So that female part, that energy, that abstract energy, and that movement with it, which is
Life in itself.
Yeah, and life in itself, that comes out in that. And the book is, of course, it is, as you said, She, the Restless Streak, and I think she is always restless.
Yes. And it will
In
be
the
launch-
universe.
And you will be holding an event at
Yeah,
the same time.
Yeah, this is the book,
Okay.
and this is She, the Restless Streak. So,
And the event will be in Mississauga. You've
yeah,
got
yeah.
2 floors of the library, if I understand.
Yes, for my art exhibition and book launch in September. Gallery is booked right from 1st of September to 30th of September.
Okay.
And book launch will be somewhere in between
That'll
the
be a
days.
big night.
It will be,
And
hopefully.
Oh, it will. It will. We'll do a couple more questions before we
Yes.
wrap up, because I know that, well, that's why it's going to be such a big event. You are very good at marketing. Your online presence is very strong. Do you think marketing has become more important for the future of arts? And how do you think your background in graphic design and marketing has affected your graphic design?
Marketing is important because now you are standing in a place where every person is a brand. Every person is a brand.
Yeah.
So you have to do your own branding to be
Yes.
in the market. But then I'm again coming back to the fact that as far as art is concerned, it is a way of life, to me at least. You know, it's art for art's sake.
Yes.
So that, having said that, it's how do you market a way of life? That would mean,
That we all become products?
no, that means that, that means the education at the core level.
Education at the core
Exposure,
level.
exposure towards art, and then growing from there. And that's how the art is going to evolve. So I mean, 100% I wouldn't be able to make my art a product, because there's something beyond that, it says.
Yes.
It's,
Which comes down to the marketing.
yeah, I've been into advertising, I've been into fashion designing also. If you see my resume, designing textiles and fashion designing way back in 80s, late 70s and 80s. So these are all offshoots of advertising at a commercial plane.
And one can almost feel those textures coming
Yeah,
through
designing,
with your art.
designing. Yeah, you can.
You can.
Because the exposure has been there. So, yeah, design impacts. I mean, strong designs give an impact. So, coming back to marketing is important, becoming more important now, and that too on the digital plane.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to ask, what does digital art mean to you? But I think you just answered that question.
Did I?
What do you think? What does digital art mean to you?
Digital art means that you are using digital medium to create an art, and it has got a lot of scope. I mean, scope is beyond
Yes.
your imagination. You're losing something, you're gaining something. So this is how.
Yeah, you're losing something, you're gaining
Is
something.
it?
That is a powerful quote. I've heard you say
Yeah,
that
yeah.
before. And one last thing I want to ask you about is, I know, do you feel that digital art is coming back with a big force?
It is, and it will. It will, because there's so many things you can do. There are ways and means, where you can use digital art. So it has to come, because we are going into digital era. We are in digital era. And digital era, Ivy, is itself changing. There is so much, something you had last year, you don't have it this year. There is a progression. So within digital era also, there are a lot of changes that are happening.
Well, one of the ways music has overcome the challenges since Napster first came onto the scene in, I think, 2001, is, it's made quite a comeback with iTunes, and, musicians have struggled. And live concerts were one of the only ways that they could still generate revenue.
Yeah.
And I know libraries are becoming a space more and more now for events. And a lot of art events I've been to recently also bring in music, so that people, there's a DJ, there's music, so that people have not only the art on the walls, it's a comfortable space because there's other mediums happening at the same time. There's a music medium, there's a visual medium, then there's networking. And what are your thoughts on that? You do events, and how do you think that how do you think that we can overcome the challenges? Like publishing, the publishing industry still, as a publisher, it's difficult. As an artist, it's difficult for us to overcome these challenges and keep it strong.
See, it's only a change. It's not that publishing industry is going to die, but it is going to change. It's only that the transition from the hard copy in your hand to the ebook in your hand, and we have to accept it, because younger generation is totally on that other ebook kind of a thing. Or like I'm coming out with a coffee table edition, because that would be a unique kind of thing that you can say. Yeah, so that's a different thing.
There's still a place for the print medium.
Yeah, there is a. So, and for me, I've started preferring books because one is that it consumes less space. I can have lots of books otherwise, and I can search my books very easily where I had so many times, a book is lying somewhere and you just going
Bookshelves
to
and stacks of books.
Yes. So all these conveniences are there, and I think with time people are going to accept it, like people have accepted the fact that right from caveman to here you have changed. So from here you are changing to something else, I don't know what, but
it is possible to overcome.
Yeah, of course it is. It is.
Well, thank you very much. Everyone, you can find Meena on Facebook at meenachopra.art and on Twitter at Meena Chopra. And this was this recently came out in 2010 as a second edition. Ignited Lines was her book of poetry. Absolutely gorgeous. Second edition was printed in 1996, was the first. It was that popular. If you want another sneak peek of her art, visit her website or find some of her poems and visual art in the second issue of the Artis magazine. And, of course, reach out to Meena on Facebook and on her website. And let's hold up some of the pieces for everyone to see, because they'll be seeing these if they come to your event. She will be at the Mississauga Central Library, having 2 floors rented out from September 1st.
Yeah, September
1st.
These are bigger pieces. These are just
these are small prints.
Like these. This is about She, the Restless Streak.
And you can,
Yeah, and then...
You can hand them to me when...
Yeah, you can maybe see.
And all of these are acrylic?
Acrylic and pastels both.
Very nice. I like that one.
Yeah. So these are some of the...
How many pieces will you have at the exhibit?
I think about 40.
Wow,
and with some
really?
Retrospective work, maybe more. Let's see how much space. So art, I have a huge body of art with me.
Yes.
So let's see how many pieces we can accommodate.
2 floors
there.
is a lot to fill up.
Yeah.
And it'll be September 1st to the 30th.
Yeah.
And her new book will be out. You can find Meena online. You can also find the Artis magazine online at www.theartismagazine.com. And the background art on this issue here is Eva Kolach's visual art from our first issue. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Meena.
Thank you very much for calling me here.
Thank you.
And thank you for the channel.
Thank you.